Dr. Homebrew is brought to you by 5-Star Chemicals, providing safety and cleaning supplies for brewing, distilling, and winemaking at 5starchemicals.com.
Doctor, look.
Stand aside, nurse. I'm Dr. Homebrew.
Stand clear.
Welcome to Dr. Homebrew. It's true, we're here. It's the month of May, and we have 4 homebrewed beers to talk about today. Thank you very much. Keith just handed me a Kolsch, which I'm a nut for. I'm just a nutty guy for Kolsch. And, no one needs IPAs when you have Kolsch. Right? Am I right, Brian, or am I totally wrong? Tell me, honestly,
when you have really good Kolsch,
the truth right now.
Yeah, if you live in Cologne, you don't need IPA.
Right.
But if you drink homebrewed Kolsch, you probably need some IPA.
It's good to have everything.
Is it, though? That's a good Kolsch. It tastes like green tea because I just drank a bunch of green tea.
Let me taste that one. That's a good starter beer.
Look at that.
Let's fire it off here.
Yeah. Look at the man pouring us beers.
Thank you, sir.
Next month is NHC, boys.
Yeah.
Kolsch month.
NHC.
It's National Kolsch Day, everybody. Going to be doing a couple live shows from NHC. Do we have beers for that? Have we talked about that? We haven't talked
We'll just
about it.
round up random people there, I think.
I think that's kind of what we do. Yeah, that's true. Anyway, speaking of NHC, of course, you can find our show sponsor there, 5-Star Chemicals. They are always at HomebrewCon. They're always at NHC. Well, I guess they're the same thing now, but different. Anyway, go to the booth, check them out. They're really, really nice people. They know a lot about cleaning and sanitizing, clearly, because they make the best products on the market for doing either of those two activities, which you need to do to be producing good beer. There's a lot of flaws sometimes that we find on these beers that are easily remedied by cleaning properly and sanitizing properly, and you can do both of those things with 5-Star Chemicals. But if you are going to HomebrewCon, go to the 5-Star booth, talk to them, let them know that you really appreciate them sponsoring this show, because without them, we honestly wouldn't be doing the show.
Give them a hug.
Give them a hug, please. I mean, ask permission first.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Would you mind if I hugged you with my arms currently? And then if they say yes, then, do it. But don't extend it too long, maybe a couple seconds. Because, nobody needs that. What do we have here today? We have a Hoppy Brown Ale.
We've got a Brown IPA.
Yeah, which I guess that's what that is, right? A Brown IPA.
Yeah, there's a funny little dude on the cap flipping us off, too.
What?
There's a hop in one hand and a middle finger in the other.
Wow.
Got it real close.
I think he's wearing some sort of medieval garb or some, I don't know what
There's like
is that a dude?
Something arms up and
Is
then
it a
something
cat?
hanging down.
Is it a cat or a woman? Or
I'm not sure.
Sort of sphinx thing?
It's kind of Egyptian sphinx-like.
Yeah, it does look kind of Egyptian.
Well, let's get Andy on the phone here, Andy Bridget, and then he can tell us all about that cap. Andy, are you there?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
What's going on, dude?
I don't care about the beers. Tell us about the cap.
Not a whole lot. Oh,
We're fascinated about the cap, dude. Why is he flipping everybody off?
That's the monk from Munich. Only it's my cat.
Okay. It is a cat, and it's a monk.
Hey, monks could be cats. I'm sure that's fine, right?
And Egyptian monks could be cats.
Or something like that. So we have your Brown IPA or Hoppy Brown. Brown IPA is not like a real style, is it?
It is, yeah.
It is. When did that happen?
It's a specialty IPA for the 2015.
Yeah.
They added it.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
It's
not super common. Like, I don't see a ton of them in competitions. I think Brian tried to make one.
It's under 21B. Yeah, I kind of tried to make one. I tried to make an American Brown, and then I tried to pass it off as a Brown IPA because I couldn't decide. And I thought it was too light for American Brown color-wise.
Yeah, I would think that's kind of the same thing. American Brown Ale and Brown IPA.
Because style-wise, it can go a little lighter than an American Brown. It's got a little wider range of
It's
color.
not hops shouldn't be like a hop showcase and make you just reach for it.
Thank you.
The big problem with a lot of the old American brown ales was that people would make like brown IPAs and enter them, and then everybody would be like, this is not supposed to be like brown hop water. It's supposed to be a balanced sort of beer, and that's kind of the differentiation. So it's kind of similar between like an American pale ale versus an IPA versus an American brown versus a
session IPA versus a pale ale.
Let's not get into that. Session brown, and you can do that too because of the way the guidelines are set up now. You could actually make a session brown IPA if you wanted to, or a double brown IPA, or
I'm sure there's a lot of crossover between
hazy
those
brown
styles.
IPA, which sounds really disgusting.
At some point, there's just going to be no styles. It's going to be here's a beer that's capped. Anyway, we're getting off. So, Andy, have you done something like this before, or is this your first attempt at bastardization of the IPA category?
No, this is the first one. I never even really had what I thought would be considered a brown IPA, so I wanted to try to brew it to see what it tasted like.
What did you? How did you hear about it? Just going through the style guidelines?
Actually, this is like Janet's Brown, only a little bit different. So it was kind of from Tasty and Jamil's book. It was in there. So that's where I got it from.
Okay.
And everyone always talks about it, so I wanted to see what it tasted like.
Sure.
Have you guys had any commercial ones before? I just wonder what you all had that's commercial brown IPA.
I've had. See, that's the thing with this too is, and why I wanted to send it to you guys is that the difference between an American brown and a brown IPA is kind of I'm not really sure where the lines cross. So I've had hoppy browns, but I don't know if they were brown IPAs or not. So
that's my problem with having these weird guidelines now. It's like it's too confusing. You can go either way, so then the judge has to pick. But if the judge picks the wrong way of the fence, then is that the brewer's fault? Is that the judge's fault? Is the guidelines' fault?
Maybe like think of American brown ale as a toad, and then there's like a wart growing on that toad, and it kind of bubbles up,
appetizing,
and then it kind of explodes off the toad, and it becomes a whole other style unto its own.
Is that how sex is? Is that what sex is?
I think another way to think about it too is you want to stay away from the fence. Think of the fence as an electrified fence. So if you're not clearly making, for competitions at least, if you're drinking, you do whatever you want. But if you want something to be an American brown or you want it to be a brown IPA, make sure you're staying away from the
Don't whiz
fence.
on the electric fence.
Yeah, stay away from the fence portion. Either go way out in this yard or go way on that yard, and then you don't run into that problem of your judge having a certain perception. It should taste like this or it should taste like that. That's how judges sound, by the way.
I have a lot of responsibility. Well, Andy, we're going to taste your beer right now. Why don't we let Keith go first, because he seems like he's in a really good mood today. It's
because I judged one of these beers, and I drank a cup of coffee right before this, so I need to slow down.
Oh, great.
But I didn't judge. I judged this beer 2 days ago.
They judge these beers in advance, so that's good news.
Okay, so I'm going to probably say a couple things that I didn't say initially. I'm going to add some things to it. But originally, a faint coffee, roast, spicy hop character, low citrus, malt sweetness is medium high. This is all aroma. Hop aroma is moderate caramel, honey, and a little diacetyl aromas with very low esters. Gave it 8 out of 12 for aroma. Appearance, medium brown, super clear, long-lasting, slightly off-white head. It held the head pretty well. I gave it a 2 out of 3. Just the head fades a little bit. Flavor-wise, lots of malt, big sweetness, strong caramel, low chocolate notes. Probably the sweetness is a little bit stronger than I'd expect in terms of balance. It still is probably a little bit leaning toward hops, but as an IPA, I'd want the hops to jump out a little more in terms of bitterness. Hop flavor is medium high. I'd like to see a little more hop flavor as well. Thought the malt once again is sort of sticking out a little bit more than it needs to. Once again, the hops I got more this time. I guess citrusy, a little earthiness, some spiciness. Fermentation was generally clean. As it warmed, I was picking up some diacetyl. Mouthfeel, that was 11 out of 20. Mouthfeel, medium full body, medium carbonation, light astringency from hops, low alcohol warming. Overall, it feels like a pretty full beer in terms of mouthfeel. 3 out of 5. Overall impression, I thought it was let me slow down here and sip it and think about it. I am really caffeinated right now.
Take an actual drink of that beer, Keith.
Thank you. I guess right now I'm actually add one more thing. I'm getting a tiny bit of oxidation too. Getting some cardboard papery sort of notes, maybe more like honey, I guess, and it probably blends a little bit with the malt. Is that the malt or is a little bit the oxidation? But anyway, overall, I thought it was pretty malt focused for this style. It felt maybe to me a little bit closer to an American brown than a American IPA. Bitterness was somewhat subdued, pretty sweet, I thought, and the big problem for me was the diacetyl. As it warms and as it, more and more I'm tasting it, the more I got the diacetyl. So I'd watch that. Look at what you're doing in terms of fermentation, oxygen. If you're dry hopping, think about what you're doing with oxygen when you're dry hopping. Things like that. Make sure you get a full fermentation before you dry hop or crash or anything like that. But yeah, I was talking about the fence, and this one kind of to me feels like it sits a little bit on that fence between an American brown and an American IPA.
Or a brown IPA.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, American brown and American brown IPA, sorry.
Yeah.
All right, Brian.
And if you look in the BJCP guidelines app, there's different ones, but on the iPhone one, they have it as 21E. They have it all broken down into different. The specialties are all under 21B, but they went C Belgian IPA, D black IPA, E brown IPA. So if you're in a competition, you might get some confusion too with the numbering. But I would just go by what's in the BJCP guidelines, which is not E. It's all under B, and you just have to declare the name. So you did that right. It said 21B on the label. Some people put an E on there and confuse people.
I think as long as you put the name of it,
but if you put the name of it, they should get it.
The coordinator will get it and put it wherever they want it to be in that competition.
It's a fine point, but I think it's something that they should straighten out.
They should, and I think there's too many apps. There's a lot of different apps. You said the iPhone app. I have at least 3 apps on my phone that are different. I don't know why I have 3 different guidelines on my phone. I'm not sure what I'm doing there, but
and granted, the BJCP doesn't claim any of them, and that's their disclaimer. But if there's stuff out there being represented with their name on it, it should be fixed. I think.
I forgot to give a final score, which is maybe kind of important.
Okay.
So I give it a 30.
All right.
Which falls into the basement of very good.
Very good.
Okay.
Brian, it's your turn now.
I noticed on the bottle it had a slightly low fill. It didn't seem to affect the carbonation or anything. It had a nice hiss when you popped it. Aroma had a moderately hoppy nose with some nice resiny and citrusy notes in there. It seemed fairly clean. No DMS, no acetaldehyde. A nice faint kind of brown, amber, and chocolatey kind of malt character. Basic ale, nice, esters, not too high, kind of medium, below the hops there, and has kind of a low, dark bready kind of note. As it warmed, I did get a little bit of a kind of butterscotchy character, a little toffee-like. So I'm definitely picking up just a hint of diacetyl in there. And some people are sensitive to that, others aren't. But it wasn't really heavy. It didn't wallop me upside the head.
No, not at all. I think it blends in with those those roasted malts to make a more toffee.
Yeah. Sometimes in a maltier beer, it can just express itself that way if it's really low. So it's in some English malty beers, it's not even a defect at really low levels. So, but in IPAs, it would be considered a fault. Appearance-wise, it's nice and clear. Medium light brown color with coppery orange highlights, low light tan head, and mostly very fine bubbles. There was some lacing on the glass, persisted very well. So the appearance was pretty nice. Flavor-wise, I'm getting medium hop notes with citrus and pine. They're getting dulled just a little bit by the surprisingly high malty flavors in there. Some chocolatey, some dark caramel, some toffee. There's that toffee-like again, and probably a little bit from the diacetyl playing off the malts. Still, it's pleasant and pretty easy to drink. It's not an alcohol bomb. Nice and hop balanced, but not insanely so. The hops are kind of a little subdued, but they're pleasant. And the bitterness isn't too high. It's just kind of, medium level. And some of that malt remains in the aftertaste. Again, a hint of diacetyl as it warms up, though. The mouthfeel, medium light body on the maybe on the big end of body for the style. I felt it could be a little lighter and drier to finish more crisp and clean and kind of let those hops pop a little more. But, I found a slight warmth in there, not heavy, just nice and smooth. No obvious astringency. It was kind of creamy and smooth, I thought. Mouth-filling. And medium carbonation. Overall, I found it to be a pretty pleasantly well-brewed dark hoppy ale. It expressed itself a bit more like a fairly hoppy American brown than a brown IPA. I kind of agree with Keith there. I would like even more fresh and bold late hop character here to pull it up into that the other style. Don't straddle that fence. More of that will help you. But again, and then fix the diacetyl. Do a diacetyl rest after your primary fermentation. Don't pull it off the yeast too early and just let it sit for a couple days after it's all done bubbling at 68 or 70, and that'll clean that right up. It's produced early in fermentation, and it seems like you had a healthy enough pitch going in. I don't know. We talk about the process there, but I said it's very tasty as it is. I put on the score sheet, so it's like kind of a little reference to the to Janet's Brown.
I get it now. The air quotes work really well on radio too. By the way,
roasted.
If you pause and say tasty, then that's air quotes in on the radio.
No,
it's the pause.
I didn't
dramatic
know that.
Shatner pause. But yeah, it kind of reminded me of mine that I did. That was kind of like Tasty's recipe twisted as well. But I liked the beer. I thought it was very good as well. I ended up on a 32. I could have gone a little higher, and I actually wanted to go a little higher because I really liked it. But once that diacetyl started creeping in a little bit, I just kind of had to pull back. So
it's all right. It happens.
No, it's a good attempt there for sure. More hops will help it too. More hops would cover up more of the diacetyl.
Yeah, I agree with your comments about being too. I kind of said that, but being kind of malty and not really showcasing the hops enough. And I'm not sure we'll talk about age and everything there too, and that's obviously a big factor. How fresh this is in terms of hop presentation, that makes a big difference. So if JP's been sitting on this.
I think it's about a month or so. Okay. I don't know, Andy. Let's ask Andy.
Okay.
Andy, how old is this beer?
So I bottled this in early January. So I kind of figured, it'd be more of a critique of my bottling technique than, on the actual beer. And then even when I first brewed it, it was pretty hoppy, but it faded pretty quick. So I had a keg of it. I actually don't have any more left, unfortunately. So as it aged, I kind of saw it fall from like the bottom of the IPA maybe category down into the brown ale, and so I kind of expected that too. And then I'm sure it's oxidized, in the bottle for that long. So
it held up well,
it's
though.
funny too. I've entered it in several competitions as both the same competition as a brown ale and specialty IPA, and the feedback has been interesting and funny.
We like the cap, but cap brings it up by 2 points.
I think you'd probably black out the cap.
They'd have to black it out in a comp,
Sorry, Brian.
Oh yeah.
So has it been like on the fence, or have they liked it better as a brown ale, or is it just sort of all over the place as a brown ale versus an IPA, a brown IPA?
It actually did better, up front as a brown IPA, but there was, you get 3 score sheets or whatever, and there was always one in the brown ale category that said, it's not hoppy enough for an American brown, and then, in the same competition in the specialty IPA, it's not, it's too hoppy. Or not hoppy enough for, especially, it was just back and forth on both.
Too hoppy or brown.
Personally, I think it was more of a brown, an American brown ale. Mm-hmm. Especially after, maybe 6 weeks, it was definitely American brown ale, I think, would be better.
For judges that understand the breadth of that style, for sure.
And are you picking up the diacetyl?
I really like the beer.
Called out the diacetyl?
Fit necessarily perfectly into one of the styles.
Yeah. Did you get any butter?
Your butterscotch?
I didn't out of the keg, but in several of the bottles, from some of the competition, there was a couple that picked up maybe a little bit, and I'm sure it's just gotten worse.
Well, something that can it can creep up a little bit in the presence of oxygen with certain bacteria too. So it could be something like that. I don't know if anyone started going sour or anything too, but I forgot, a little more acidic as it went. But
I think it's more of a PDO thing.
Yeah,
Pediococcus doesn't necessarily get sour. It can get sour, but And this one, I swear this one has a little more diacetyl than the one I tasted the other night, but I could just be a little bit.
I feel the same way. This one is a little heavy on that.
Well, Andy,
I'm not real sensitive to that, so it could have had it, and I'm just
you're
terrible.
You're lucky. That's good. You're lucky.
You're learning.
Yeah, that's good.
Do you have the recipe handy? You might want to, if you want to throw it out to us, that'd be cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a 7.5 gallon batch, and I used 001 with a 2,000 milliliter starter, and then it was 73% pale malt, 9% crystal 40, 7.5 carapils, 6% white wheat, and then a little over 4% chocolate malt. And then I pretty much went straight off of Tasty's, Janet's Brown for most of the grain, and then the hops as well, except for the dry hops. So it was a Northern Brewer in the mash. Did an ounce in the mash, and then Northern Brewer and Warrior, because I ran out of Northern Brewer in for the bittering. At 60 minute, I did 1.5 ounces of Northern Brewer and 1/4 ounce of Warrior, and then I did a 15-minute Northern Brewer, 1.5 ounces, 10-minute of Cascade, 1.5 ounces, Whirlpool Cascade, 2 ounces, and then for the dry hop, I did 2.5 ounces of Centennial and 1 ounce of Mosaic for about 5 days for the dry hop.
Mm-hmm. I was wondering when you were going to get into those 68. IPA hops. Sorry, what did you ferment at? I talked over you. I apologize.
68 degrees, 68. And then I didn't do it. I didn't raise it up or do a rest or anything. I just did 68 for the entire fermentation.
Should be fine if you didn't rush it off the yeast. So it might have been fine in the keg, and it just is creeping up in some of the bottles.
I do like the ability to raise. If you can raise the temperature and get it up to 70 once it's pretty much done fermenting, or at the very end, that's always good. But 68 is a pretty good temperature for 001. You could go just rock right at 68, you'd be fine. But as Brian mentions, you want to make sure that you let it finish up there. So dry hopping, was this in a carboy? You said 7.5 gallon batch. Was it in carboys, the conical, and then where was the yeast? And how did you sort of deal with that?
It was in a conical, and I dry hopped after fermentation was complete. So I just dumped them in the top. It was pellets.
Yep.
Dumped them in the top, closed it up, and flushed it with CO2. So could have got some oxygen in there with that. I dumped the yeast before I did that as well. I mean, it was completely done by that point.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking probably it was fine at that point. I don't know. And it's, been sitting in these bottles for a while. There is a little oxidation to it, and it's definitely doing something. And fading. The hops are gone.
Yeah,
that's true. But, I think it held up reasonably well considering. So there you go, man. Do you have any questions for the guys before we let you go, Andy?
No, I mean, the big thing was trying to figure out what style that actually is, and I think I already knew the answer to that, but it's good to get confirmation.
I think the one question I have on the malt bill, and maybe this is more of a tasty beer anyway, but why the carapils and this is maybe for Brian as well, why the carapils and wheat? One obviously is probably maybe more of a body. I mean, carapils is somewhat body, but they both are kind of helping you form head retention, and in an IPA, like you were mentioning, Brian, you want it to be a little bit crisper, and I think throwing in that carapils there is sort of fighting against that a little bit, and I don't know, it's just a general question overall I have about brown IPAs. Should it be really using chocolate malt, or should it be using some Carafa or something like that, and how much of that character you want? I think you did a pretty good job. I like the roasted malt here. That it was somewhat restrained, but it was still there. But I don't know, it's just a general question overall, like why put both of those in there, and just try to keep it a little bit drier. If you're really going for an IPA, that's kind of the hallmark of the style now is dry, let the hops shine, but you want it to be a little bit different because it's a brown IPA. Maybe the chocolate malt takes care of that, but the wheat and carapils to me seems a little overkill.
Yeah, I can agree. The carapils probably isn't doing much for you here other than just increasing the body a little bit. And the wheat is going to help your head along with just all the hops that are in it. So, the head's going to stand up fine. There was no problem with the head at all. So maybe replacing that carapils with some just some corn sugar or something to dry it out a little bit more instead. And it won't be so malty. It'll still have a little complexity from the wheat and the chocolate and all the other stuff in there. But, try that.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. So I don't remember, 100%. I don't have the book sitting in front of you. I'm pretty sure I got the grain right from the recipe from Tasty.
Yeah,
so I'm going to have to blame him for that one.
No, his recipe is a good one. It makes a nice American brown on the hoppy side.
I always think his recipe, his homebrew recipe is always too sweet. Every time he brings it in, which he doesn't homebrew anymore, so he doesn't bring anything in, but it's always too sweet.
There's plenty of his IPAs that are nice and dry, though. Just the regular IPAs.
Yeah, but I'm talking about this recipe specifically. For me, it's too sweet, and I've had the Russian River version, and it's too sweet. I think it's not dry enough. I don't really think it's an American brown ale.
Yeah, I think
because it needs to be dry.
Way, so
he wants it that way, but I don't. But I think for me, if I was going to recommend anybody to do anything, is to change that recipe.
Yeah, that's kind of that's where I was headed. as well.
Because it's just not. It's not what maybe it used to be that way, but it's not anymore. It's just I don't know. It's too sweet. It needs to be a little bit drier, a little bit crisper, but whatever. Anyway, Andy.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Is that it, or you got anything else?
Yeah, that's. No, I'm appreciative of the feedback.
Cool.
Yeah. So I was on last month too, and I rebrewed my Hellas a couple weeks ago, and it's sitting in the fermenter right now, kind of hanging on to the yeast. So it's I think it's better. So I appreciate that feedback too.
Very good.
Cool. Awesome.
Are you going to the conference next month? Are you?
I don't think I'm going to make it out there, but the beer will be there. So hopefully, fingers crossed. Yeah, fingers crossed it'll do well.
Oh, in competition.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, man, we'll
for you.
Yeah, we'll be. I'll have your name tattooed on my arm just to remind myself.
Nice.
All right.
Go, Andy.
Good luck, Andy. We'll talk to you.
All right. Thanks, man. We'll see you.
All right, dude. Cheers. There. Cool. Good beer. I liked it. It was fine, even considering it's 4 months old.
Yeah. The flaw is really subtle. Everything else is pretty good, and just a couple little balance issues.
Yeah. You know what else is pretty good? White Labs just released a mobile app. Whether you're a home brewer searching for your next strain or a professional placing an order, White Labs mobile app has something for everyone. Key features include an easy-to-navigate ordering system, custom culture calculator to determine appropriate pitch rates, homebrew store locator, up-to-the-minute inventory availability, and more. Download the new White Labs mobile app for iPhone or Android by searching White Labs in the App Store. Okay, we're going to take a fast break here, and then we're going to come back and talk to another homebrewer, Robb, with a Weisenbock. This is Dr. Homebrew. Hang tight.
Hello, fellow BNers. This is Sully from the 21st Amendment Brewery located in San Francisco, just 2 blocks from Giants Park. Before Nico and I opened the 21A and before I was a professional brewer, I homebrewed on my small 4-burner apartment stove in a back house in Santa Monica, California, making my extract brews before graduating to the daunting idea of all-grain brewing. Homebrew books and information was hard to come by back then. The internet hadn't been invented yet, along with other things we take for granted today, like electricity and potable water. One thing I wish I had back then when I was learning was a radio show that could teach me the ins and outs of brewing and answer questions that I had about homebrewing, a resource for making great craft beer. The 21st Amendment Brewery is excited to be a proud sponsor of Dr. Homebrew, a great show that teaches you what you need to know about making incredible beer. Good stuff. Listen up, you might learn something. I certainly did. And thanks for your support. Tasty Crack Games.
Now, back to the examination.
Hey, thanks for sticking around. Assuming you're there. I don't know. Maybe you've left and I don't know it. I'll never know if you've left or not. But I hope you're here because it would make me feel good in my pants.
Is there anybody in the chat room?
It's hard to say, man, with the new chat room. I have no idea. There's people logged in, but I don't know if they're listening or commenting or passed out drunk from Monday night. I have no idea. But what I do know is that Great Fermentations has the largest catalog of Blickman products on the web. They offer top-notch customer service, same-day shipping on many items. Check them out. They're at greatfermentations.com. They're also on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter as GR8. The number 8, not the word 8. That would be awkward if it was GR and then the word 8. But GR, number 8, fermentation, greatfermentations.com.
Are they out of Indiana?
That's a good question.
I think I bought a whiskey barrel from them, a 15-gallon whiskey barrel that I used to make award-winning imperial stouts, and now I have sours in them. So
nice.
Highly recommend. Yeah, 15 gallons are much better than the 5-gallon ones in general. But yeah, I appreciate. I remember ordering stuff from them in the past, and they've always been really great in terms of responses and support. Yeah,
good. That's great. On the phone, we should have Robb. Are you here, Robb?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. How are you doing, man?
Doing well. How are y'all?
Perfect.
Very
Perfect. Good. Just sipping on your Weizenbock.
Awesome.
Have you brewed this beer before?
No, actually, it was my first time.
Nice. See, and I know. I don't know, but I think it could get a little old. Me going every time. Have you brewed this beer before? But I think it's really important a setup to know where the homebrewer is in relation to the recipe or to brewing practice at all, or just why? Why would you brew a Weizenbock? I have no idea.
Well, I wanted to know too because the cap said W17, and I'm like, is this the guy that's been brewing this Weizenbock 17 different iterations of his recipe, and this is the final
for 17 weeks?
He nailed it, and they're sending it in. I don't know.
That's not right, is it, Rob? You just put it on there.
No, it's I brewed it last year. When JT emailed me, he needed the beers pretty quick, so that's what I had on hand. So
clever.
We'll see what you think of it.
Yeah, after the year 2000, we stopped using just 2-year date codes. So you should go with it. I'm kidding, but the 2017.
Not enough room.
Remember the COBOL issue of 1999. So.
Yeah.
Brian, why don't you go ahead and start off on Robb's Weizenbock, please?
Okay.
I just like saying Weizenbock.
The fill was a bit low. Also kind of a small bottle, or an interesting shaped bottle with a really kind of sloped and tall, skinny neck. Maybe it's a commercial beer of some sort.
It looks like 11.7 ounces.
So it's 11.2s or...
Yeah, 11.2. Sorry, not 11.7.
Yeah, like the 350 milliliter, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I have no idea where it came from.
Okay. It's Euro bottle. It's Euro bottle. Aroma-wise, it's it's a richly malty beer. It has some pleasantly bold kind of Maillard products in it. Smooth, pretty high alcohol presence, but it's not biting or harsh. Very evident though. And I'm getting dark bread crusts and toast along with this kind of sweetness, and I kind of it's got dark fruit, and it's coming across like a bread pudding-like character in the nose, which I kind of enjoyed. Low floral hop, no DMS or diacetyl, only low banana and a little bit of clove. It's not really high on either of those. I think there's a bit of clove in there and just a faint hint of banana. But yeah, it's a sweet and kind of dessert bread-like beer in the nose. Appearance-wise, it's a deep, dark amber with a light copper color and had a thick head of fine white bubbles. Fairly clear, a little bit touch of haze, but not too bad. Mostly fine white bubbles. I already said that. The head retention is good for the strength. It does fade after some time, so it stood up for a while. Flavor-wise, malty-rich as expected, with a medium dark bready flavors and some light toast. Low bitterness, no hop flavor, dark fruit, plum and prune-like flavors in there. Again, a very low banana and low clove. Seems cleanly fermented. I really thought it was a pretty clean beer. Definitely balanced to the malt. The finish is medium sweet, but not cloying at all. Just a nice malty, rich aftertaste that sticks around, and smooth and bold alcohol. It's not hurting anyone, but if you drank 6 of them, you'd be hurting.
I don't think I can get to 6. I can get to like 3 and be passed out somewhere.
Forget how to count at that point. Like, I'm on 3 again.
Yeah.
I made this beer. Don't you guys know?
This is the beer that's going to make the next show even funner. Mouthfeel-wise, it's a medium full body, moderate but smooth warming. It's somewhat creamy smooth. A medium-high carbonation. Had kind of a sharp, crackly sound when it first opened. I poured it, and listening to the beer, it's like this like fading and a little bit, but it's just kind of reforming itself too as you move it a little bit. So I'm
Brian's
back to
doing his best Michael Winslow impression.
Yeah. Didn't get any astringency in here. It's smooth overall. I really like it. But yeah, the carbonation was definitely pushing up some interesting, like, it wasn't like soda pop bubbles. It was like, and it wasn't like the typical kind of beer bubbles. It was just like this crackly sound. It was interesting. I don't know what causes that. All the wheat proteins kind of crackling against each other. I have no idea. Overall, it's a very pleasant drinking and well-brewed Weizenbock. Almost all of the desired elements. It just could use a bit, more of that banana and clove. You don't want to get it too heavy. There's ways you can play with that. We'll have to kind of talk about where you fermented it and all that, and how, what you did with your yeast, and a lot of that will affect it. So we use just a touch more fruitiness too, I think, and the spiciness alongside the malt. So it's the fruitiness, the banana, and other fruits. It's kind of low, medium low esters aren't really poking out very much. So it's just mostly get the malt and the smooth alcohol. And it's smooth and enjoyable. But it seems I would experiment with the way you ferment it. Maybe even with some of the malts too. Something a little. With a more of a fruity edge in there, kind of, or some slight changes. Definitely you want to keep your yeast not stressed, but you don't want to make your yeast too fat and happy either. If you just over pitch it, it's just going to go nuts in there and just not give you any of what you're looking for. And as you drive the fermentation temperature higher, a little bit higher, you get more of that banana. So kind of work to balance that maybe. Overall, I gave it a 35, and I thought it was a very good beer. So it's fun to drink, and I'm going to drink the rest of it. Keith?
Excellent.
Okay, so bottle, same comments as Brian, except I found a little tiny piece of great wording there. A piece of maybe a Christmas tree or Christmas wreath on it. I'm not sure if that's from JP or if that's
I put it outside of the bottle earlier
from Rob here or not, or maybe it was part of like a wreath at some point, and the bottles were all within a wreath. I have this bottle in front of this camera again, which.
Rob's going to send us a picture of his Christmas tree with beer bottles hanging all around in it.
Okay, so aroma-wise, sweet and malty. I get some light apple esters, bready, very faint banana aroma, no phenol, no clove. As it warms, I get some more dark fruit, a little bit of plum, a little bit maybe dark cherry. No oxidation on the nose, no hops. A little slight metallic aroma, and a medium alcohol. Appearance-wise, medium dark copper with a big fluffy, just slightly off-white head. The head settles, but there's still a little bit of retention on my last glass. This one, for some reason, maybe there's something in this glass, but it looks pretty dead. The glasses are a little bit dirty here or something.
I think Bev got these, so she probably...
No, I got them. So
Keith,
yeah. So the other one was virtually crystal clear. I'm not sure where this bottle came from, but I poured it the other day. Could have been the lighting in the room, but a little bit of haze on this one that I'm looking at tonight. Flavor-wise, semi-sweet, grainy, lots of maltiness. That bready, rich, toasty, low dark fruit. For me, overall, the fermentation is fairly neutral. I get more apple than I actually get banana. Really not much in the way of clove. Fairly dry finish with a very low bitterness, medium light alcohol, no hop flavor, faint oxidation, just some sherry notes. And I'm getting a sort of a grape wine sort of like character as well. Medium body, medium high carbonation. It doesn't really feel fluffy or full to me. Overall, I think it feels a little thin.
just a low warming from the alcohol. And overall impression, that was a fairly clean Weizenbock, maybe a little too clean. I think this is one of the tricks with Weizenbock. You want to have that, enough of a banana clove character, but it probably needs a little bit of time to age as well. So you need to really push that character initially to really make it stand out, because it's going to age a little bit, and that banana and clove is going to fade as well when you're aging it. So I really would look up the banana clove vanilla. Maybe a little more sweetness or a little more malt complexity. There's, like I said, there's some great toasty notes, but I'd like to see a little more, maybe even just a little more sweetness. That's just my own personal taste in terms of Weizenbocks, but thinking of things like Aventinus, they feel a little bit sweeter and fuller in body than this beer does. So it seems a little smaller in terms of the finish, but it is kind of alcoholic, so it's kind of a balancing act there. And maybe, and as Brian mentioned, maybe the yeast was a little too happy and fermented down a little too much, and you lost some of that character that you would get. I know in the past making like wheat beers, if you over pitch or even pitch kind of like the normal pitching rates, you tend to subdue some of that banana and clove, and then there's all kinds of conversations we could have as well about mashing profiles to bring out different flavors and even fermentation temperatures. And Brian, you said, hey, maybe raise it higher to get the banana. I find that you can actually get more banana character if you start around 60 degrees and then raise up as you're fermenting. So you're actually forcing the yeast to, you're stressing it a little bit. You don't want to really stress it, but you want to push it a little bit and not just have it be super fat and happy. So either I would add some different malt here, or look at your definitely look at your fermentation and yeast strain and all that sort of stuff. So for me, I want to see more of that Weizen character, that Weizen yeast character. So I gave it a 28 out of 50.
Okay, all right. We're a little apart on that one, but that's okay. Yeah, I think that might be a good point there, like starting lower to try to, to me, at the lower it's going to, and the more stressed is going to encourage kind of some of the spicy character. But always when you're fermenting a higher temperature, and let it rise up, it's going to start pushing out more esters in general at that point. So I don't think at a low temperature is going to push out more banana. Do you think?
It actually does. I mean,
with that yeast?
The yeast is a little bit of a weirdo in some sense.
Do we know? We haven't talked about the yeast yet.
If I'm using like 3068, which is my preferred yeast. I like that better than the White Lab version of it, which is 300. It just has a better flavor for some reason, but and then there's a lot. There's lots to learn about these styles, and they're tricky, and they don't age that well, and this one does, and that's why you kind of need to make sure you get enough of that character originally, because it does sort of age gracefully.
Yeah, I've made more Weizens and Dunkelweizens, but I haven't made a lot of Weizenbocks. That it's kind of probably a tough one to nail. You have more experience than I do in that one, so I will defer to you on that yeast comment, Keith.
Sound a little sarcastic there when you said defer. There was that air quotes when you said deferred. I wasn't sure if that was. You didn't say.
No, I will defer to you.
I will straight up defer.
Well, Rob, do you have any questions for the guys on their feedback?
That makes sense. I think the smoothness on the alcohol is probably because of the age. It's had time to kind of settle out and smooth out a bit. And I do think it had more banana early on, and that's probably faded. That was going to be one of my questions, but I think y'all mentioned that, so that makes sense. I did use the White Labs just because that's what my homebrew shop carries primarily, but it was the 300. So that's interesting. I may try the other next time. But I usually do a starter, and I intentionally didn't to try to get more of that banana. It was funny when I was researching it. It seemed like every other forum post that I read, one said, well, you got to go warmer to get more banana, and then the others, you got to go colder to get banana. So it was really a toss-up. So I just tried one, and so I fermented about 68, I think. And then let it warm up from there, and so that may have been too warm.
Yeah.
Where do you like to start yours, Keith?
It is around the 60-degree mark, and that was kind of from professional brewers telling me that, and then also the dude who was on our show that one time, Nick Corona, who won best beer for NHC, like he won best of show. He was doing the same thing, starting around 60 degrees, and
he also just won the MCAB. by the way.
Same beer as well. Yeah, not the same
guy.
exact beer,
But same recipe.
So
maybe
I listened to him what he's doing, with his Weizens and his fermentation profile. So
we'll get you his number.
Great. Other than that, I think it was a typical grist. Honestly, I don't remember where I got the recipe. It's probably a mix between books and online posts or whatever, but 8 pounds of wheat, 5 pounds of Pilsner, 2 pounds of chocolate wheat, half a pound of caramel and special B, and a quarter of chocolate malt.
What about your mashing regimen with that grain? What were you doing?
I just did a straight up 150 single rest.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is one of those styles. If you can do Ferulic rest and do a little more complex, mashing profile there, you're going to get a little more flavor. I've heard that really ups the clove character doing that rest. So,
what about a decoction?
Yeah, decoction too. Yeah, if you can do it,
go for it. Maybe you can just get more malt richness out of that.
Yeah.
If you want to take all day to brew a beer,
and why wouldn't you? Honestly.
You mentioned, too, getting more fruitiness out of the malts. How would you do that?
I mean, it's a matter of looking at what malts you have and
soak them in apricot juice.
That's
what I would do.
Get a peach schnapps and just pour it.
A little dark Munich
dark Munich is a really good one. I think the complexity there. Yeah. I think for a beer like this, you can probably almost sub out a lot of any of the Pilsner even. And I like what you were doing with the. Some of the chocolate wheat, I think when I made a Weizenbock or Dunkelweizen, I would use dark wheat almost exclusively and not use pale wheat at all.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to get a little darker, but that's okay. It can go fairly dark.
Yeah, and you can modify the other dark malts in there to kind of compensate for that. So.
Well, cool. Yeah, I think that's my questions, and I'm glad this one was a little bit better than the last one. So you didn't have to drink another terrible beer.
There we go.
Yeah,
I thought it was pleasant. Now, are you going to NHC in Portland?
I'm not. No, over in Alabama, it's quite the trip to make it all that way. Y'all need to have one on the East Coast.
You guys need to put one together.
Yeah. I haven't heard the rumor mill about next year. We'll see where it lands.
Your club needs to put one together in your town, your state.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That'd be great. I've never been to Alabama. I want to go.
Awesome. I'll send you the invite once I get it going.
Please do.
Yeah.
All right, Rob. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
All right, later.
Thanks, Rob.
Bye.
All right, we're going to take.
I beat that one up a little bit. I think 28 may have been a little bit low. I did enjoy it.
Now that he's not here,
it was a smooth beer.
You gotta break people before you build them back.
That's absolutely correct. That's why I'm so mean to Bev. I was, and now we're friends because she can deal with it.
I mean, it didn't have any big flaws. It just those minor kind of balance issues and flavors that were kind of missing from the profile. So
yeah. Well, hey man, if you don't know, you don't know. But did you know More Beer Pro offers bulk malt, hops, yeast, as well as pro fermenters and brights, along with 4,000 other products to breweries at wholesale pricing. If you have a brewery, set up an account and save cash with morebeerpro.com. Okay, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to give some stuff away, and then we're going to have another show. So it's Dr. Homebrew, and we'll be right back again.
Do you know the 3 most important rules in brewing? Sanitation, sanitation, and sanitation. And no one does it better than 5-Star Chemicals. 5-Star knows sanitation. You can only sanitize clean equipment. And 5-Star knows how to clean, too. For craft brewers and home brewers, 5-Star has what you need to keep your fermenters, serving tanks, kegs, and draft lines sparkling and free of any beer-spoiling bacteria. PBW, caustic, acid cleaners, Star Sand, SaniClean, lubricants and defoamers, pH stabilizers, and more. 5-Star Chemicals has cleaning supplies, safety supplies, heat exchangers, pumps, hoses, and valves. And 5-Star is proud to offer eco-friendly products that exceed customer expectations. If you have a cleaning problem, you need the 5-Star solution. Visit 5starchemicals.com or call 800-782-7019. 800-782-7019 and get the 5-Star treatment today.
Are you a member of the White Labs Customer Club? If not, you should be. It's the easiest way to earn free stuff for turning in your old homebrew labels from either Vials or Pure Pitch. All you have to do is save your labels and redeem them for things like free yeast, an exclusive White Labs t-shirt or sweatshirt, and even the opportunity to brew with the yeast man himself, Chris White. Signing up is easy. Just go to whitelabs.com/customer club, fill out the registration form, and then mail in your labels. They will return the favor by sending you awesome White Labs swag. Go sign up today at whitelabs.com/customer club. White Labs, pure yeast and fermentation since 1995.
I'm sorry to tell you this, but we're going to have to pour you out.
Back to Dr. Homebrew.
Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Before we get to our main event, the Grog Tag giveaway, I do want to remind you guys about the Smart Brew Water Testing Kit, which incorporates a revolutionary photometer system, which is the first and the only one on the market with its own app. You can use it in your home brewery or your commercial brewery. It's the only meter on the market that runs water tests with no math needed on your part. And you can email the results to whoever you want, your brewing team, your Facebook page, your homebrew club, whatever you want. You can test for over 40 different water quality tests. 4 come preloaded and more are available. Test for things like total alkalinity, chloride, calcium hardness, pH, sulfate, and more, with only 4 mils of water needed for each test. So go to Go to smartbrewkit.com and enter code TBN10 at checkout and save $10 on either the standard or the advanced Smart Brew testing kit. And I do believe that these fine people will be at NHC as well. They're usually everywhere. So if you want to check this out, if you're unsure about the eye dip, and which, kind of makes you a walnut brain, but if you're unsure about it or want to try it out, I'm just going to say they're going to be there. And if they're not, then I'm going to feel real dumb. But they're always everywhere. And George is standing out there doing tests and just wiggling the strip in the water, man. And it's really, really easy. It blew me away. So, yeah. So definitely hit them up as well.
Get one for your club.
Yeah. It's a great deal for a club, man. Pass that thing around.
Yeah.
Okay, boys, we have something to give away, right? $40 to grogtag.com. It's the $40 at least your beer will look good gift certificate.
So Andy's beer is going to look good.
Andy's beer is going to look good.
Brown IPA.
All right.
It was very, very close. We had a virtual tie almost. It was like half a point apart.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Both beers were very good. So yeah.
We're excellent. All right, Andy. Well, good job, dude. I think you won last month too. But then again, so did Robb. So
okay,
sometimes people just say, "Oh, I'm sending an extra beer." Like, well, I gotta do it now. I gotta. But anyway, so there you go. We split it around, and it's pretty good. So thank you to Andy and Robb for sending in beers. Thank you, of course, to Grog Tag for sponsoring that last segment, and thank you to 5 Star for sponsoring the entire show. And thank you to all of our sponsors. I won't go through them all again because I don't need to. You've already heard it.
Yes.
All right, everybody, hang tight. If you are listening live to us, the one person listening live, we're going to be back in about 15 minutes or so with another show. And then if you aren't listening live, just hit the next in the podcast and the, podcast app or whatever, and there you go. Bing. This has been Dr. Homebrew, and we'll catch you all later.